Okay. So we're going to start seated with the knees up. So you're going to be right on your sit bones. And just kind of rock from one sit bone to the other. We're going to be working a lot tonight with the sit bones and really getting into feeling that bony protrusion in the back and all the muscles around it, and how it helps us move in certain ways, how it supports us. And so first, we just really want to feel it and become super aware that it's there on each side. And one thing you can do is interlace your hands and kind of wrap your arms around your knees. Sit up nice and tall, and then just rock from there. So, we've got different placements or different angles around the sit bones. So we could be more to the front of the sit bone, or we can be maybe more to the back of it, or feel even some lumps and bumps as we go, as we rock. So you can, in addition to holding the hands like this, you can kind of lean back a little bit. And again, that's going to change the sensation and how deep you can get into that tissue. And just note what feels, like soft tissue, and what feels really hard and bony. And do they feel the same left to right? And then you also might notice, if you are leaning back, that there's some core involvement here. And also, as you come back around to sit up straight and tall, that also requires some core strength, and as well as leg strength through the front of the hips. Okay, so we're going to allow one knee to drop open down towards the mat. The other knee will stay up. We're going to use the back, the same hand as the knee that's opened, and anchor it back. So we're kind of pushing ourselves forward a little bit towards the legs with that back arm. And then just allow your body to come up onto that sit bone and explore that one side with the open knee. So, as you open that knee and you maybe push it towards the ground, you're going to feel a different sensation, maybe through the inner thigh. Definitely a different landing spot on the sit bone. And then as you maybe round back a little bit, you can still keep that knee open. So maybe you feel more space in the front of the thigh. And you can also kind of move the other hip towards the heel of the foot. So you're almost turning, there's a little bit of a twist. And don't think there's a right or wrong way. We're kind of just exploring sensation here more than anything. And so you can even use that arm to push that standing knee open a little bit and feel a little more through the waist and that side of the body. And then just come back and have the legs together again. Just take a moment to, again, jostle, get yourself centered on both sit bones. And then we'll go to the other side. So letting the other knee drop open, anchoring behind you, with a supporting arm. And then just kind of working to feel different points of your sit bone. Maybe opening that knee deeper. You can even use your other arm to press the knee open if that feels okay. Or you can use that arm against the standing knee and kind of oppose hand and knee. Or you can just kind of work through the sit bone on that side. And then we'll come back to center, but we'll let the legs fall open into a butterfly. Now here, if you want to have a blanket or something under your tuchus, that can help you be a little taller. Feel like you're not rounding through the lower back. Take this off. And so you can decide whether your feet are far away from your body or if they're closer to. Just feel the edges of your outside foot against the floor, ground. And then we're not rounding over anything. We are just coming forward with the torso as far as is comfortable. And if you want to use your elbows to open your knees, that's fine, but you don't have to. So just giving a chance for the hips to externally rotate and open and soften. Feel free to make some neck circles in both directions while you're here. So just go slowly. And you can either do half circles or full circles, whatever feels good. Maybe going 3 times in one direction, and then when you complete that, making 3 similar shapes in the other direction. And if you use the strength of the arms to kind of let the legs go into the hands, then that might allow you to sit up a little taller through the spine. If you find a place in your neck that it's like, owie, like I just did, feel free to work that tissue or whatever it needs. And then here with the legs open in butterfly, we're going to do that same rocking from one sit bone to the other. You can even you can reach back with your hand and kind of pull all that soft tissue away from the sit bones. And just notice how this might feel slightly different. Maybe it's harder here to get in touch with the sit bones. Maybe you feel more of the internal bony parts as opposed to the external bony parts. And then we're gonna lean back with the hands behind and just open the chest out forward. Maybe if you want to bring the head slightly upward with the chin, feel free, but you don't have to bring your head all the way back or back at all. But do feel the shoulder blades kind of coming together, opening the chest. And just breathe into your chest here. When you exhale, just really, you could even sigh if you want to just completely release the breath. And then releasing that back to sitting. We're going to extend both legs out, kind of at an angle. I'm sorry, hard to see my legs with the black. I'm going to do this so you can at least see one of my legs well. Okay, so what we're going to do first, let's just work through the foot and ankle. So making some circles and then pointing and flexing the feet, or all at the same time. Each foot, both sides. And sometimes you might bend the knees, and sometimes you might have the knees more straight. And just notice how that feels on those sit bones, because that is going to change the sensation. Can try to separate and wiggle through each toe as well. Just waking up the feet. Okay, and then we're going to bring one leg in without using the hands. You can place your hands behind you if you need to sit up a little taller, but you're going to do it with the strength of the leg. So maybe the leg comes off the ground, maybe it slides against the ground, but you're going to bring that heel in, I'm dragging my blanket, that heel in towards the groin, and then extend it back. Okay. So if you want to, like, you can just drag. If you feel like, yeah, I can lift it, then you might have to lean back a little and see if you can get some, not even maybe a 1/4 of an inch of distance or more, maybe a 1/2 inch of the leg off the ground. Just do that 2 times, 3 times, and then rest. Okay. Then we're going to do it one more time. We're going to leave the foot there. So bring it in. Let that knee fall towards the floor. You can use your hand to push down, but I want you to resist with the knee up. So the hand pushes down, the knee pushes up. Just feel that resistance through that side. And then release like a spring. So pushing down, hand against knee, knee against hand. Feel how that opens that hip, the front of the hip. And release. And one more time, press. And release. Good. We're going to go from the underside. So you're going to push the knee up with the hand and push the knee or the hand down. So again, it's opposing force. Knee goes into the hand. Hand is trying to lift the knee up. And just note where you feel it. You know, is the back getting involved? Do you feel it in the other side? And just repeat that a few times, letting go each time completely. And then when you're ready, just turn towards that knee with the trunk. So I'm facing in that direction of the knee. And I'm going to bring my torso down. The other leg is just extended out to the side. Okay, and you can come down as far as you want. So maybe you only come this far over the leg, Maybe you come all the way down, it's up to you. That was my refrigerator, that big pop. If you can bring yourself to your forearms, go ahead and try that. And then with this distant back leg, or the long leg, internally rotate it so the toes drop forward and then back up. And I know it's hard to see, let me this over here. So I'm bringing my toes forward and then back up. And then one time they come forward, drag that heel behind you and take the whole leg behind you. So now you're in more of a Z sit, a Z shape with the legs. And then if you can, hopefully now here, and you might need a cushion or something, but just allow yourself to fall forward. You can rest your forehead on a block or on your hands. So sort of a modified pigeon. And just breathe and relax. If this is too much of a stretch for the gluteal and that hip, you can always be on your hands to the front. Don't feel like you have to come all the way down. If you can, come down to allow the belly against that thigh, and just notice how the breath is impacted. Can you still breathe in fully? Can you feel the back body rising with the breath? And then on an exhale, just start to bring yourself back up. Still facing over that bent knee. Now we'll bring the back leg back to the starting position. So just swing it back and the toes point straight up again. And then we can sit back on the sit bones and then open that other leg. So now we're back in a V shape. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So we're just going to drag the heel or lift the heel in towards the groin and then back. Let me get rid of that now. And again, if you want to try picking up the leg, you might get some distance from the floor. You can really use your hands and lean into your hands for a little bit of support there. 2 or 3 times. And then on the 4th time, bringing it in, letting it stay there, and having that hand on the knee. pushing the knee open. It helps to have this other hand behind you, anchoring you, gives you a little more support from the front to the back diagonal. So pushing down with the hand and resisting up with the knee. Feeling this whole side kind of create some space and openness as you do so. And then going to the underside. So the knee presses down into the hand and the hand tries to pull the knee up. Just note what muscles are firing as you do this. Okay, and then we'll come turning the waist towards that knee. So we're right over the knee and we lower. You can start with the hands extended, or you can come as far down as you want. Now, this back hip is likely to lift. That's okay. Especially as you come more forward over that knee onto your forearms. So now you'll have space under that back hip. The back sit bones no longer likely touching the ground if you're forward over the leg. Then let the toes of the extended leg drop forward and back to neutral. Forward, just feel that hip moving in the socket. As you do this and bring the toes forward, you might feel a deeper stretch through the seated hamstring or buttock. When you're ready and you have your toes forward, drag that heel into the Z-sit, the Z shape. And then if you're not already on your forearms or on your forehead, go ahead and rest for a minute or so, deep breaths. Just surrender to this shape. Again, can you feel the breath having to move more into the back body because the front belly and the area that we usually breathe into is compressed. Let go of any unnecessary tension you might be holding as best you can. And then on the next exhale, you can begin to push yourself up back with your arms. Swinging that back leg around to the front again with the toes now pointing upward and opening back up to a wide angle seat. And from here, I want you to bend your knees a little bit so you're flexed through the groin. Dig in with the heels into the ground as if you're dragging your heels back to your center of your body. And I just want you to feel and note the sit bones when you do that. So you can let everything go for a minute. Just let go, sit normally. You may or may not feel the sit bones in the same way. But then bend the knees and drag, dig and drag the heels back as you bend the knee. And then just notice how that changes the sensation in the sit bones. You might feel more. You might even be able to, from here, having both knees bent, you might be able to shift a little right to left. But there's this bone connection that I really want you guys to become aware of, from the heel through the lower leg, the knee, the thigh, right into the hip, and then the sit bones. Okay, so let's release that and bring the legs together. So we'll face with the legs straight out. Notes. Okay, so again, I just want you to first just rock on the sit bones. And can you start to walk yourself back a little bit? So you're going to move and shift one hip back and then the other. So it's the movement of walking, but we're not standing. So that's what it would look like. And then back the other way. So your knees shouldn't be locked. They should be straight, but they probably won't, you don't want them locked. And if they're bent, that's okay, if they're a little bent. Okay, and then when you come back to rest, we're going to start to bring the hands down the legs. You decide how far you want to go. Now here, I want you to experiment with the bent knees and that sense of digging and dragging the heels back towards the body. Notice how that can help you to lengthen through the spine. And you might have to just kind of release it and then try again to feel it. You might have to shift from sit bone to sit bone. You might really have to allow your knees to be quite bent. And you might even have your hands on your toes, bringing your toes back. So you're pushing down and in with the heels, bending the knees, and plugging in that line of bones back into the hip and sit bone. And likely feeling a good stretch all the way down the leg. You can start to release that, walk back up. Come onto all fours. So first, just making sure you're Shoulders are over wrists, knees under hips. Go ahead and bend the toes back. And then you can begin to do some cat-cow-like movements. Exhaling when you arch, round up. Inhaling when you bring the chest down and through. And really feeling the sit bones kind of peeling and opening to the back if you can, especially when you arch or bring the back into the cow pose, arching downward. And then moving into a child's pose, you can release the feet or you can keep the toes bent. If you need to, come onto your forearms. If you can go all the way back, go all the way back. And from here, you can do some body exploration, but what I'd like you to do is allow one hip to kind of sit off to one side. So you're going to feel or kind of reach for a sit bone by letting that half of the body drop back. And then back to center and then falling off to the other side. You can go back and forth or you can hold. It's up to you. So we're just swiveling, kind of moving the hips to one side and then the other. You can even sort of rock more quickly from side to side. So we're kind of just rolling on the lower leg, left to right. And then back into all fours. Okay. And then when you're ready, just come swinging your legs around to the front, and we're going to be on our backs. Just letting yourself release to the ground. Let go through the postural muscles. Because we did a lot with the groin, just check and see if it's tense through there. If it feels like you're having to hold your legs up, just give a little test. See if your knees want to fall open, if that releases tension there. If that does release tension there, bring your knees back up, walk your feet out a little, and then let your knees drop in towards each other so you can let go of the tension there. Does that make sense? I hope. So we're just going to give a minute here to the body, again, to feel the back along the ground. Notice the points of contact. So we have the points of the feet. Maybe certain points of the feet feel more in touch than others. We have the back of the pelvis, the lower back, and then up along the spine, up to the thoracic back, the shoulder blades, the back of the head, arms just wherever are comfortable for you. And we're going to start some cat-cow movements here. So when you feel ready, you're going to allow the pelvis to tip downward toward the feet. And as you do so, I want you to search for the bones that you feel as you move. So what part of the pelvis, maybe the sacrum, do you feel as you tilt towards the feet? The lower back comes off the floor. And then back to neutral. So we're just going back and forth. Tilting the pelvis down towards the feet and then back to neutral. Note as you do if there's any change in the way that your feet relate to the floor. Maybe, maybe not. And you feel the movement through the whole spine. So it's not just this separated, severed lower body, but the whole spine that's being pulled along with the pelvis downward. And then back. And then when you're ready, see if you can tilt your pelvis up in the other direction. So we're not going to pick it off the ground. We're going to leave it on the ground. We're just going to curl in a very shallow way. So the front of the body will tighten and release. And then repeat that a few times. So we're flattening the back, tightening the front of the body, and releasing to neutral. Again, feeling the spine moving as a whole unit, steered by the pelvis. And then let's bring those two movements together now. So tilting the pelvis toward the feet, arching the back, and then all the way through, flattening the back, tightening the front body. We'll inhale as we tilt the pelvis towards the feet. And exhale as we come through, tightening and shortening the front. So let the head be involved in the movement. Feel that whole back body moving as a unit. And then rest back into a neutral position. And note any sensation you feel around the lower back, the sacrum, pelvis. If there's any tension in the back, just try to release it towards the floor. Just pour it out. Now we have the feet about hip width apart. Go ahead and let the knees fall open onto the outer edges of the foot. And then just bring the knees back up. So letting the knees fall open, they're falling each to their own side, as opposed to kind of windshield wipery. Feeling that outer edge of the foot by the pinky side, pinky toe side, and then back to center. You might want to change how far apart the feet are and see where you like the feeling the best. So if you walk your feet in a little closer, it'll feel more like you're in cobbler pose with the feet together. Or you can have them apart. It's up to you. Just letting them open and close. And as you do this, see if you can feel or sense the sit bones. We're not right on top of them, but you might get a better sense of them when the legs are open. What would happen if you tilted your pelvis down towards your feet when your legs were open? That's going to bring you right to your sit bones. Can you feel that? And then release back. So still opening and closing the legs, and then when they're open, tilting the pelvis down towards the toes, and feeling the sit bones really kind of come into life. You can connect to them and then release again. So just do that a few more times on your own. Opening, tilting, and releasing. Feeling for the sit bones when you open and arch. And then when you're ready, just come back to neutral. You don't have to rush. We're going to do a little bit for the upper body. So just extend the arms out to a T. They might be right at the shoulder, might be a little higher or lower, it doesn't matter. I just want you to rotate the arms so that the pinky kind of reaches up towards the head. So the hands are just going to stay on the ground and we're simply rotating in the shoulder. So the palms will face your head and then back to neutral. And again, rotating the arms. I want you to connect this to the breath. So when you come back to neutral, you exhale. When you rotate the pinkies, you inhale. Now you might find that you want to change the position of the arms, maybe have them higher. So here you can really feel what's happening through the shoulder blades, through that whole middle spine. As you simply rotate and breathe. Now I also want you to start to sense what this movement would do if it started to move into the lower body. So just a little while ago, we were tilting the pelvis downward towards the feet. What if you connected these two movements? So you rotated the arms, pinkies up, and you tilted the pelvis down and away. So you're creating this pull through the body, lower body moving away from the center, and the upper body moving away from the center. And then release. And repeat. So just explore that for yourself. Nice deep breaths when you reach the furthest point of the posture for you. And now the other thing you can start to add, if it feels good, is just let your feet open. Again, the knees falling open and being on the edges of the outer part of the foot. So now we are still tilting the pelvis down as the arms rotate up and releasing, but the legs are open. So you might feel like a frog on its belly. And now, as you come back from the tilting the pelvis down and having the pinkies faced up, now I want you to bring it back all the way the other way. So close the legs, rotate the hands down, and tilt the pelvis up. So the whole front body is shortened. Okay, so the thumbs this time will be reaching down towards the feet. The pelvis will tilt upward towards the head. So just a moment ago, we were moving everything away from the center, the lower part of the body and the upper part of the body. Now we're bringing both parts back to the center. Okay? So we rotate the thumbs downward, tilt the pelvis upward, everything in the front shortens and release. So you might feel more weight on your head, the back of your head as you shorten. Maybe the front of the throat opens. The chin might move up towards the ceiling a little more. And it's up to you if you want to kind of put these two together or not. You can just stick with rotating and shortening the front body. But if you feel like you want to try, you can go back to open legs And moving everything away from center. And then shortening and bringing everything back to center. Right, I'm just gonna check, see what it looks like, if I can see you guys. Good. And then you can rest in a neutral position. You can stretch your legs out. And just kind of roll your whole leg so your feet flop out and back. Just kind of jelly roll it. See if you can get the whole leg from the hip to the foot to just kind of roll side to side. It's more of a shake than a, there you go. Yeah. Good. And then let's bring the knees back to standing for a moment. And I just want to do one more thing for the sit bones. So we have the knees bent again. And I want you to come onto the toes. Tilt the pelvis towards the feet. So there's a little arch in the back. And then you're gonna lift the knees in towards the chest from this position. So hopefully what you'll get is kind of an arched spine. Yeah, you can lower your feet a little, stay bent in your knees, Paula, but just lower your feet so they're more dangling from, yeah, there you go. And kind of feel, again, for the upper part of the pelvis and sit bones, you won't really feel, you might not feel much of your sit bones unless you really arch the spine. But you will feel the upper parts of the back of the pelvis and probably some of the same tissue that we were massaging when we started class. Good, and then you can extend the legs a little bit out into space. And then towards the chest and give a nice squeeze. Feel free to rock a little left to right on the lower back if you want. You can hold lightly to your knees and just conduct little circles on your sacrum if you want. And then if there's anything else you feel like you want here before we move into stillness and shavasana, feel free to do whatever you need. And then when you're ready, just lengthening out. If you need a blanket, go ahead and grab the blankie. If you need a pillow under your knees, under your head. Maybe breathing in and letting out some sighs to settle and release everything to the ground, everything we've worked. Noting any sensations you might be feeling around the pelvis, the hips, the sit bones, the gluteals, and all those muscles around the butt. And just letting everything soften and release again. The work is done. And now we get to spend some time not doing. And sometimes it's easy to not do. And sometimes it's really hard to not do. So just notice where you are today and be okay with it. And with each breath, just let the body be heavier on the backside. And with each inhale, let the front body lighten. So with each breath, there's this sense of both sinking and floating. As you breathe in, you can maybe feel the float through the front body. And as you exhale, the sinking through the back body. Or you might even feel it reversed. There's no right way. If you breathe in, you might feel more of the back body pressing downward. And as you exhale, you might feel lighter through the front. So just note which one of those is more true for you. And then just release the focus on the breath. And just listen to the silence even if there's sound in your environment. You can start to wiggle fingers and toes again. And if you have a cat on your belly demanding you stay as you are, you can. Just take your time to come back into your body with any movements you feel like making.